Wonderful.
Good morning.
Chapter 20 in Tehillim, the Psalms of King David. I'm not saying Mizmor David, a prayer for our Jewish brothers and sisters whose lives are being threatened the whole time. They say that a big deal is underway. They're going to ransom 19 hostages, out of how many? More than 100, in return for 250 murderers who will be released from jail, who will commit more murder. Sinwar, his name should rot, was a murderer. He was in jail. He was released in an exchange. So what did he do? He had cancer when he was in jail. A Jewish doctor saved his life. He said, "I'm grateful to you forever." What did he do? He attacked innocent people with 3,000 terrorists, murdering 2,400. How many people were murdered? I'm not saying Mizmor David Yanchadonai Bim Tzara. Yisagel Hashem Elohei Yankev Yishar Ezra HaMikodesh HaMitzim Yisadekam Yishkar Kol Mechasei Harei Lasan Lasan Mesela Yiten HaHakev V'Echad B'Chol Atzas HaChayim Alei. The Rebbe of Yeshua Secha Hashem Eloheinu Nidgel Yamali Adonai Kol Mishalei Secha Ata Yodaiti Ki Ishi Adonai Mishirei Yanehu Mishmekotchei B'Gumurei Seisheminei Eli Rechav Elasusim Anachnu B'Shem Adonai Eloheinu Nazker Hema Karav V'Nafalu V'Anachnu Kamim L'Seidad Adonai Yishem Melech Yaneinu V'Im Kareinu. Hashem should help, and certainly does help when we call unto him. Chapter 5, we're starting a new chapter. In Tanya, we've been learning about the will of Hashem, the garments of Hashem, our thought, speech, and deed, the garments of the soul, through which we express our connection to Hashem. We connect ourselves to Hashem with these garments. And that's why the neshama comes into this world, to acquire these garments. Because there's no garments in the world to come. There's just a shine, a beautiful shine of holiness, of purity. But, I've seen these videos of people who had near-death experience. They were gone, their soul was up in heaven somewhere. Their body was lying down here. They experienced the whole thing. And then they had to make a decision. Do they want to come back? Do they want to stay there? They all say the same thing. They say it was so calm and peaceful. There was a non-Jewish person testified at one of these. They all say the same thing. He said, "I am not afraid of dying." He said, "I know exactly where I'm going. It was the most wonderful place." But there's no mitzvahs. There's just like it's a beautiful place, beautiful light. But if you want to be really connected with Hashem, not just to perceive that there's a light shining from Hashem's palace, so to speak. You want to be connected with Hashem, that's in Torah. When we learn Torah, we take Hashem, he put himself in the Torah, he gives it to us, and then it becomes in our head. So he's writing here in chapter 5 about the extraordinary thing about our brain, that when we think, we take an idea and it enters our mind, and our mind surrounds the idea. Something may know how to do. Anybody here know how to sew? How to make a dress? How to make clothing? No, none. Go on. What do you know how to do? Anybody know how to play the piano? Know how to ski?
I do.
Yeah.
Ski.
No.
I ski.
Yeah, parallel, it's parallel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in your mind, you can see yourself doing it. Yeah, but it's not in your mind. It's still out there. It's somewhere on the mountain, the real skis. But in your mind, you have the whole thing. The difference between that and Hashem is that what the Torah that Hashem knows is in his mind, and we can bring it into our mind. The Torah is about mitzvahs, for instance, like lighting a Shabbos candle or lighting Hanukkah candles tonight, which is a mitzvah from the rabbis. So we can understand that and have the whole concept in our mind, but the candles remain something separate. I remember the first time that I met up with Chabad, so the Rebbe said to light candles with everybody you could. So I went out with one of the rabbis to a restaurant where I knew that Jewish people would hang out, especially Israeli people. And we lit menorah there. We lit menorah with a few other people. That night I went home, I was sitting on the edge of my bed, and I could see all these candles that we had lit. So like I had the idea was in my mind, but the candles were not. However, by Hashem, it's not that so. By Hashem, the idea of the mitzvah is in his mind. The knowledge of the idea is in his mind. The wisdom of the idea is in his mind. And the thing itself is in his mind because he's creating it every second. And that's the difference between Hashem's knowledge and our knowledge, between our thoughts and his thoughts. Like the prophet says, my thoughts are not your thoughts. You have to remember that. Okay. But the fundamental idea is that with the mind, our intellect conceives of an idea, brings it into our intellect and surrounds it. And the idea is now surrounded in our mind. That's the important thing for us to grasp and to think about. Chapter 5. So the word for intellect in Hebrew is seichel. Seichel. Seichel is intellect. Thought is machshava. That's what the seichel does. The seichel thinks. That's machshava. And when you take an idea into your mind, it says you grasp the idea. There are different terms for grasp. One of these terms is tefisa, means to grasp. Another term is hasaga, which means understanding. So grasping is like I'm grasping this cup. When you grasp an idea in your mind, it's like you're holding it in your hands. So let's take a look again. Page 91 at the bottom. What does it mean, the word tefisa? Like Elijah the prophet says, Leis machshava tefisa bach. Hashem, no thought can grasp you because you are infinite and our thoughts are limited by nature. According to our intellect, according to our IQ. You know what IQ stands for? Who knows what IQ stands for?
Intelligent.
Intelligent what?
Quotient.
Who said that? Simcha. Quotient. In other words, they put a number on it. So that if you're like 150 IQ, that means you're a genius. If you have a 90, I guess you're ordinary, irregular, normal. Okay. Page 92. How does it work? Hine kol seichel. The seichel is your intellect. What does it do? It's maskil. The seichel is maskil. That's the verb. The seichel is the noun. What the noun does is what it is maskil. It's maskil umasig. Remember I told you have tvisa and we have hasaga. Grasping an idea and comprehending the idea. That's called hasaga. Where does it take place? B'sichle, in his seichel. And what is it? What is the thing that he grasps now in his mind? It's called a muskal. The muskal is the thing that you understand. The seichel is the intellect that's doing the understanding. Harei haseichel taifes, here comes the word taifes, it grasps. The seichel is grasping now the muscle. The muscle is the idea. Umakife, another term, it surrounds it. The idea is now grasped in the mind and surrounded in the mind. The mind surrounds it completely. So you can surround in your mind how to ski down a hill, but it's in your mind, but it's there. So that's why they say that a person is where his thoughts are. You could be sitting here and dreaming of your favorite mountain slope. And you could even, hello, Hannah, which slope are you on? Your mind, he drifts away. And this, now that's the point of view what the mind is doing. Next paragraph, page 92. Vahamusko, and the musko is the concept. Nitfas, your mind is grasping the concept. The concept is grasped. Umukav, your mind is surrounding the concept. The concept is surrounded. Umalubush, and it is enclosed, like you're wearing a garment, so the garment is enclothing you. It is enclosed within your seichel, which is your intellect. Shehesige, throughout the time that you are thinking about it, and you are conceiving it. So you're grasping it and you're conceiving it. A lot of terms. Yiddishkeit, Torah is very rich in terms of knowing and understanding, more than other languages, perhaps. Certainly more than English. At the bottom of page 92, this is very complicated, the opening section, and it gets easier. Now, the extraordinary thing is that the concept is grasped in your mind, and now on the bottom of page 92, your intellect is enclosed in the concept. So your mind grasps the concept, and your mind is enclosed in the concept. The whole while that you are thinking about it, but say the whole while that you are grasping it in your intellect. Got that? It goes this way and it comes back that way. Between the thinking process and the thing that you're thinking about, how they come together. Derek Marshall. Okay, so now he's going to make it easy. Let's put it out on the table. A marshal, what is a marshal? Does anybody know what a marshal is?
A parable.
A parable, that's right. What is a parable?
It's something to explain, like a simple example, which is used to explain an abstract concept.
Mm-hmm.
To make it easy.
To explain a difficult concept. Do we have any tissues here on the table? Kleenex? Throw that one.
Oh, no.
Not respectful. Okay. Thank you. A mashal is another term for a mashal is a comparison, a metaphor, a simile, an image, all of which make it easier for us to understand an idea which is more abstract. Or a situation. The Torah is full of situations that show us how a certain law works. So here's an example. A mashal, English, for example. You understand, a person understands and comprehends a particular law, halacha. Where is the law? Where are halachas to be found? The Torah has concepts. the concepts are clarified in the oral Torah. And we know we have the written Torah and the oral Torah. They're like a king and a queen, a husband and a wife. They go together. We need the oral Torah. There was a sect that died out. And maybe a few people still cling to it, but there's nothing there. That we don't accept the oral Torah. We only accept the written Torah. But people who say that, then they don't accept the whole written Torah either. They pick and choose what they like. The Torah isn't something you can pick and choose. It's a package deal. And if a person denies any detail of the Torah and says that it's not from Hashem, from Mount Sinai, he's called a kafir, a person who denies God. Because just like your body is made up of 248 limbs, you can't say, well, I can do without this limb, I can do without that limb. No, then you're a cripple, you're an incomplete person. The Torah is 248 mitzvahs, correspond to our 248 limbs. You can't pick and choose which ones you want and which ones you don't want. We have to do them all. And Hashem has these limbs. Every mitzvah is a limb of God. And not only that, but the word mitzvah means to command. It's a commandment. So Hashem commands us to do mitzvahs. And when we do them, that connects us to him, because a commandment connects you to your commander. It's a very important principle. Write it down. The commandment connects you to the commander. So the commandment is the most precious thing that we have in our life, because the commandments connect us to Hashem. But to know how we do a commandment, we need the oral Torah, which gives us the details. Every commandment has so many details. And if we don't get the details right, then we didn't do the commandment. Like an expiry date. Like you have to have a matzah on Pesach on a certain day, the night after the 14th of Nisan, and you have to finish it before 12 o'clock, or at least after the fact before dawn. And if you didn't do it, you didn't do the mitzvah of keeping Pesach. Sorry. Want to do it the next day? Or the Chabad rabbi comes along and says, I got matzahs for you for Pesach. Oh, good, I'm going to have them now. No, don't have them now. Save them for Pesach. That's when you have the mitzvah. Eating the matzahs on Pesach connects us with God. Eating them before Pesach disconnects us from God. Shows we don't care. All right? So, when we have a law, where do we learn the law? We learn the law in the oral Torah. The oral Torah is made up of Mishnah. The word Mishnah is like, we're learning about Yosef. He became Mishnah L'Melech. He became the viceroy. What does viceroy mean? Anybody speak French? Yes. No? Viceroy. Vice is like vice president, right? He's not the president. He's the vice president. He's second to the president. So we have viceroy. Roy means a king. Wow. You know, Dina, you speak French. You're from Canada. You have to learn French.
No, it's only in the
Wow. So viceroy is second to the king. It's a viceroy. So Yosef became a viceroy. So the Mishnah is like a viceroy to the Torah. It's like a husband and a wife. Love and marriage go together like a horse and carriage. Right? They go together. Can't have one without the other. So Mishnah, what's Gemara? What's Talmud? Well, the laws in the Torah, the way they're stated, we don't know how to do them. Like it says, you should write these words on the doorposts of your house. Which words? Where? Which doorpost? Right doorpost, left doorpost. How high? How low? Which way does it slant? What do you write it on? I once examined a mezuzah on a doorpost. It was a photocopy on paper of the Ten Commandments. That's not a mezuzah. Because the laws are very specific. What are the words that go in a mezuzah? Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. What about Baruch Shem Kei Malchus? No, that's not there. That's in our prayers, but it's not in the mezuzah. V'ahavta es Hashem Elokecha. You should love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Beautiful thought. If I write it in English and put it on the doorpost of my house, I have the thought. Did I do the mitzvah? No. Because the details of the mitzvah are explained in the oral Torah. We can't be Jewish without the oral Torah. And people have tried over the centuries and they all died out. Because the oral Torah is the lifeblood of Judaism. And so we have the laws listed in the oral Torah because what happens is people needed to know the details, so they turned to the Mishnah. What is the Mishnah? The Mishnah is short summaries of details of a mitzvah, and it's written in such a way that it's easy to understand. And without it, we don't know how to do the mitzvahs of the Torah. You don't know how to do a simple mitzvah like a mezuzah. Even the most unobservant Jews very often have a mezuzah. They don't know what it is. They just know it belongs on the doorpost. That thing belongs on the doorpost of a house. It's a Jewish house. Everybody sees the Jewish house. When there's anti-Semitism out in the streets, sometimes people want to hide their mezuzah. They don't want people to attack them. Sometimes they do things. They gouge out a hole in the doorpost so that it's not apparently visible, but it's visible to them when they come in, when they go out. Baruch Hashem, we don't need to do that now in America. But there were many periods in time when people were very nervous about having a mezuzah on their doorpost. That's all a sidetrack. To know what a mezuzah is, we need to have the Mishnah, which tells us all the details. But then what happened? During the years of our exile, people began to forget the fine points of the mitzvah. Is it like this or is it like that? Does it have to be? Do I have to eat the matzah before midnight? What if I eat it before 4 a.m? Is it still good? Is it not still good? So we have to answer all these different questions. What if I have egg matzah? Is that real matzah? It's made by Strikes. No, but it's not for the mitzvah. You didn't do the mitzvah of matzah on Pesach. And every mitzvah has a lot of details. You know how long it takes to make matzah? 18 minutes. From the time the water touches the flour, 18 minutes. After that, it's not matzah anymore. It's leaven. Not like Rabbi Levin. It's leaven, which means chametz. I don't know another word for leaven.
Unleavened bread.
Matzah is unleavened.
Yeah, because it didn't
It's
rise.
before 18 minutes.
Yeah, because it didn't rise into
After 18 minutes, it's called leavened. Even though it looks the same, tastes the same, but, well, I don't know if it tastes the same, but it's no longer the mitzvah. So there are all kinds of questions, hundreds and hundreds of questions about every single mitzvah. So we have a huge volume of laws recorded in the Talmud. The Talmud explains the laws of the Mishnah. What happened? Another 500 years went by, and people didn't remember anymore what was so clear and obvious to people 500 years ago. So we need great teachers to teach us the fine points of the fine points in order to know how to do mitzvahs properly. So now let's get back to page 93. When a person understands the Jewish law, which is called a halacha, which the word halacha means the word to go. It's a going, a way of going in life. And he finds this halacha in the Mishnah, which is the knowledge nuggets that explain the written Torah. Or in the Gemara, which is the Talmud discussions of rabbis about what are the details of the mitzvah that's given to us in the Mishnah. And he understands it clearly. And he understands it thoroughly. What's the difference between clearly and thoroughly? Clearly means he's not confused. And thoroughly means all the details. He's got it all there, right? So what's going on? Hare Sichle, remember we're talking about the Seichel, the intellect. His intellect is Typhus. Typhus means I'm grasping it, I've got it, I'm holding it. His intellect is holding on to this halacha. And his mind has this halacha in there. It's in there. It's surrounding it. V'gam sichle malubish, and his mind now is in that halacha. Hello, where were you? Oh, I was thinking about the halacha. While I was skiing down the slope, I was thinking about that. But his mind is enclosed in this law, as long as he's thinking about it. That's where he is. So a person is where his thoughts are. And thoughts awaken thoughts. So that when you think about somebody, I'm sure you've all experienced this. When you think about your mom, you're feeling lonely. You think about mom. And your phone goes off. Hello, Yael, I was just thinking about you. Oh, mom, I was just thinking about you too. How come? You've experienced it, right? Because thought awakens thought. When you look at a person, you think about them intently, they'll turn around to look at you. Thought awakens thought. So if we're thinking about Allah and the Torah, that's a good place for us to be thinking. And then that law is in our mind, and that's Hashem's law. So Hashem could be thinking about you too. Hashem is thinking about you too, because Hashem is the law, and he's enclosed in that law, and that law is now enclosed in your mind. And there's a tremendous unification. Now this halacha, here we go, next paragraph, third paragraph, page 93. This halacha is the wisdom and the will of God. This halacha is very profound. You should have a mezuzah on the doorpost of your house, on the right doorpost, so you see it when you come in. And it should be just at this level, not too high, not too low, eye level. For an average person. If a person is, Rahmanul Islam, no fault of their own, a midget, so we don't put the mezuzah at eye level for a midget. We put the mezuzah at a high level for an average person. The average person is like between 5 and 6 feet tall. My wife is 5 foot tall, I'm 6 feet tall. The average person is in the middle. That's the halacha. This halacha is, and this is the wisdom. This halacha embodies the wisdom of God, that you should see the name of God. You see the letter on the outside of the mezuzah is the shin, letter shin, which is the first letter of a name of God, which is, I'm not going to pronounce it because it's a holy name, but it's like this, Shakai. This name Shakai, it stands for 3 words. A name that stands for 3 words. What are the 3 words? What's that? That's called an anagram. When you have a word that stands for other words, the letters stand for a different word, right? So the Shin, Daled, Yud stands for Shomer, Dal says Yisrael. It stands for the one who is the guardian, is the Shomer, is the guardian. Like you want to leave your groceries with somebody. You say, I can't carry these from store to store. Can I leave them here and I'll come back? He says, yeah, but you're making me a guardian. I'm responsible. That's a shomer. A shomer is a guardian. Dal says, a dalet is the door. Anybody went to Hebrew school? You know what a dalet is? It's a door. And the Yud stands for Yisrael. So Hashem is the guardian of the doorposts of the Jewish people of Israel. And that's Shin Daled Yud, that's the name of God, which is there in the Shin that we print on the outside of the mezuzah case. And that's the first letter of the mezuzah, which is Shema. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Hear, O Israel. Hear, O Israel, the first letter is a Shin. So the wisdom is that when I go out in the morning, I see, I'm reminded that Hashem is going with me. I remember this is a Jewish home. Hashem abides in this home. He lives in this home with us. And when I come home at night after the whole day's experience and challenges and difficulties, and I come home and I kiss the mezuzah, thank God I'm home. I'm so happy I'm home. And I kiss the mezuzah. And I thank God that He was with me the whole day. He gave me life, He gave me understanding, He gave me success. And sometimes it didn't look like a success, but then it turns out that it was a success. Everything is according to Him, to the way He does it. So there's a lot of wisdom in every single mitzvah. That's just one example of the wisdom in the mezuzah. You know, there was a massacre once when terrorists burst into a school in the north of Israel, and they shot and they killed 22 kids. When they informed the Rebbe, he said, check the mezuzahs in the school. They checked the mezuzahs. There was 21 mezuzahs, were no good. 21 had mistakes. 22 kids were killed. The Rebbe said, there must be another one. It's not possible. They checked again and they found there was another door that they had, to a porch, that they had neglected to notice it. So then the Rebbe said a whole sikha. He said a whole talk that the children were not killed as a punishment. By way of example, here's a parable. If a soldier goes to war, he has to wear a helmet. If a terrorist fires a bullet in his direction and hits the helmet, it can save his life. If he didn't wear the helmet and he gets shot, heaven forbid, in the head, heaven forbid, you don't say he's punished because he didn't have his helmet on. The helmet is there, it has a function. If you don't have the helmet, you don't have the protection. The idea of a mezuzah is it protects the people living in the house, and protects them not only when they're in the house, it protects them when they're not in the house. That's part of the whole concept, the wisdom involved in this mitzvah. And I'll tell you something else. Since all the mitzvahs are connected to Hashem, and Hashem is only one, from every mitzvah we learn about all the other mitzvahs. Which means if this mitzvah brings protection, other mitzvahs also bring protection. But here it's obvious. It's out there on display, so to speak. Like when you light a Shabbos candle, or the Hanukkah candles tonight, it's beautiful. Right? And you see it because the flame and the light is beautiful. And it suggests all kinds of ideas to you, whatever you know about Hanukkah, whatever you know about Shabbos. The Shabbos Queen, the peace. When I was a little boy, they told us in Sunday school. You know, sometimes in Sunday school, it was a Reformed Sunday school. But there were certain drops of truth that they gave us. And one was, a teacher told us, if you look closely, children, you look closely at the candles, you'll see angels are dancing in the candles. I used to stand beside my mother after she lit candles and squint my eyes like this. And I could imagine that I could see the angels were dancing in the candles. And it remains a reality with you because it's an element of truth. Well, the idea of the beauty of the light of the candles is obvious in the candles. It's not obvious in the mezuzah, but it is in the mezuzahs, because the mezuzah and the candles, they're all part of the same mitzvah structure, and each one informs us about the others. So just like candles give us light and beauty, having a mezuzah also gives us light and beauty, but we don't see it. In the candles, we see it. And the candles bring protection to the house. We don't see it, but in the mezuzah, we do see it.
And tefillin.
Because all the mitzvahs are connected. Each one teaches us about the other. And each one reveals a certain concept, a certain aspect of God's will and wisdom. Okay, so we know this halacha, which is the wisdom and the will of God, which is, he says, the rationale underlying the mitzvah is the wisdom of God. And the ruling itself is how we do the mitzvah. How do we do the mitzvah? What are the details? That's the will of God. And they are both, the will and the wisdom of God are one thing with God. So now, what happens if it comes about that you have two people, Reuben and Shimon, and they're doing business together, and Reuben says, you bought this cow from me for $1,000, $500. Cows are not cheap. And he said, well, I paid you. Oh, no. You didn't pay me. You said you would pay me, but you never did. I most certainly did. I remember giving you the money. Well, I don't remember getting it. And you owe me the money. And they have to go to Beis Din to straighten it out. And the rabbi, Beis Din, is going to hear the arguments on the one side and hear the arguments on the other side. And he's going to give a decision. And that decision is the will of God. That's how it works. We'll come back. We'll talk about it again tomorrow.
Rabbi,
L'chaim.
what did you say about the candles? What did you say about the candles?
What do I say about what?
The candles.
About what?
Candles.
What did I say about the candles?
Yes, dancing in the angels.
What?
Dancing in the candles.
Dancing angels. If you want to, just think back to when you were a little girl, 4 or 5 years old, and go like that and look at the candles, and what do you see? Maybe you'll see angels too. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam bo nefesh yisrael b'tzchok chesreinan al kel masha baras lahayes bahem nefesh kol choy baruch chei haolam. Was it clear today, or did I leave you confused? It's very abstract. It's very part of the Tanya here we're dealing with. But he's trying to bring out a concept of an unbelievable unity between us and between Hashem that comes about through the Torah, which he says, and you get there tomorrow, is not any other kind of unity in the whole world. Thank you very much, everyone.
Happy Hanukkah. Hey, girl. Hi. Boy. You sit where? Who sits here? Who sits here? Who sits here? You sure?
I always leave my pens in here, so I know that I can have.
Huh? No, I know. I can understand. So sit here. It's free of charge. Wow, you know.
Yo, I hate this shirt and all my clothes. Change it. That's a good one. I like it. Thank you. What did he do? Which one do you want to put, mommy? I didn't have nadie. Echo. For you. Oh, for me. Thank you. Oh, you're so cute. You're so. I think I'll just switch between them. Julie, I didn't have it for her bag. Okay, fine. Thank you. Oh my gosh, Julie, thank you so much. What a treat. Julie, thank you so much. My box says thank you. Good morning. Yeah, it's so good, right? It's so cute. Yes, I got something. No, horrible. It's not really that it's not really that it doesn't make sense. No sé qué dijo. I like your skirt. Okay, come all of us. All of us. I got it from Borobak, from Julie. Oh, really? Julie, like that was ¿En serio? ¿En serio? What's from Africa? ¿En serio qué? Oh, this one, yeah, it's folded, no? No, this one. Oh, what's it? No, that's fair. It's one of the Okay, aí telefona, une cabelo פשוט תעשי. מה יש לי לעשות? עכשיו כלום. אבל אם יהיה עוד, אז תעשי. לא, אז זה לא עזרה שזה. Do you know? Make it on me. Sugar mama. Sí. Yo la puse. Pensé que la marca de vestido que iba a decir. Silverman. Oh, Silverman. Silverman. Pero puse en la calle. ¿Qué pasó? Ay, no, es nueva. Pones el link acá, estamos haciendo este hay un ¿Qué dijo? Yo lo digo. Eso bien.